Welcome back to Fox and Friends. Well, it was one of the first sanctuary cities in the United States. And starting next month, San Francisco will start releasing illegal immigrants arrested for committing crimes, even if the feds want them held. So is this a good idea? Joining us now to debate, former senior special agent for the INS, Mike Cutler, and immigration attorney Francisco Hernandez, also joining us. Francisco, let me start with you this morning. San Francisco, don't they have a responsibility to hold these illegal immigrants when the federal government asks them to?
Well, if the federal government actually asks them to, they do have an obligation to hold them for 72 hours. That is the law. The question is whether they're going to be reporting people that are committing speeding tickets or small violations rather than the felonies or criminal people that should be deported under the criminal alien program. So there's a difference in what San Francisco's approach is doing. It's quite frankly is the approach that's been done throughout the country.
So, Mike, is it an issue of semantics here? San Francisco says, look, we don't want to hold these guys for small crimes, misdemeanors and so forth. On what we want to worry about and focus on are the larger crimes. And if that person or individual is illegal and commits a larger crime, INS and ICE will know about it.
Well, you know, what's remarkable is probably half of the FBI's 10 most wanted get arrested for doing motor vehicle violations. If you have somebody in custody who's an illegal alien, it's important that immigration does get notified. You know, we're minimizing the reason we have immigration laws in the first place. If you go to Title 8 of the United States Code, Section 212, I hate getting into technical law points, but it lists the categories of reasons why an alien would be excludable. These are the folks that run the border because they know they couldn't get through the inspections process. It includes terrorists, drug dealers, pedophiles, human rights violators, war criminals. So if you have somebody who ran the border, somebody whose presence is illegal, and you have them in custody, it's in everyone's best interest, including the people within the immigrant communities who very often fall victim to criminal aliens, to have ICE pick them up and let ICE make a determination as to whether or not these folks are a priority to remove. But certainly ICE has that responsibility, right. And they're telling us to be vigilant, especially after bin Laden. This is a great way to be vigilant.
Francisco?
Well, we didn't pick up bin Laden in San Francisco. The point is that just on a matter of resources, we can't pick up everybody that we stop for a speeding ticket. We have to focus our resources on the things that are more serious and more people that have actual criminal warrants for serious offenses. ICE or even the local enforcement authorities don't have that much time, that much resources to hold somebody for 72 hours in a jail and pay for that for small violations.
No, my understanding is these are people that are arrested, though. Not the cop that's making the stop for the speeding ticket, but the cop that brings the guy in for committing a violation of law where they fingerprint the guy. And that's the situation when ICE needs to be notified, and they can decide whether or not to take them into custody.
And it has happened in several cities throughout the country where they're basically reporting every single person that had any kind of inspection sticker violation, and I told the city, hey, listen, man, we don't have time. We don't have enough agents to go pick up everybody you're feeding us.
But let ICE make that call. What they're doing is not even giving ICE the opportunity. Wait 1 sec. They're not giving ICE the opportunity to tell them whether or not they have a desire to take this person into custody.
Francisco, is Mike picking up on an important point here? Are ICE's hands tied?
Yes.
In what way?
Well, the inability to then respond to these federal mandates to go after these guys. If on one hand this regulation is saying this and San Francisco is saying this, what is ICE to do at the end of the day? They're coming home at the end of the day saying, what's my job?
Well, the thing is, you're right. ICE is in a tough position because they don't have the resources to do it on their own. Quite frankly, they don't need the cooperation of local authorities. Quite frankly, federal law supersedes state law in every way, so they could come in and get the database and do it themselves, but they can't. Yeah. We don't have the resources, so let's focus on the important ones.
We got to leave it there. Mike Cutler, Francisco Hernandez,
thank you for having us.
Debate, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank
really
you.
Interesting. Coming up here on the show, now that bin Laden is dead, should we pull our troops out of Afghanistan?
All right, new details in a gruesome mystery in Long Island, New York. Investigators are now saying that multiple killers could be on the loose there, responsible for at least 10 bodies dumped along a remote stretch of highway near a popular beach. Trace Gallagher is live in our West Coast newsroom. Trace, what makes them think there is more than one serial killer?
Well, I mean, they're baffled, Allison, right? Because, I mean, what are the odds of having 10 different bodies being found in a relatively small area and being the work of numbers, maybe 5, maybe 4 different killers? And now police might believe that this is just an area that's inviting for those who want to dump and hide bodies. Remember, these 4 women, the human remains were found on Long Island beaches, Gilgo, Oak, Cedar, Jones. These women have all been connected. They are known prostitutes who apparently got their clients on Craigslist. The remains of two other women also found, and now police have realized that their torsos were actually found in a different area, 45 miles away, and they were found 7 years ago. Those two murders also thought to be connected. And they have also found the remains of an Asian male in his 20s, thought to have been murdered, not connected to the woman. They have also found the body of a little girl. They have not identified her cause of death, also not thought to be connected. And finally, two other bodies of females have been found. They have not been identified. They may or may not be connected.
Afghanistan. That question sparking a lot of
to citizenship for illegal immigrants already living here in the U.S. Already, the White House is arguing that there will be a financial benefit to this. But here is an unnamed administration official telling Reuters news service today that the cost of such a change would be about $54 billion. However, the revenue increase would be $66 billion, adding, quote, bringing people to a path where they can be taxpayers is obviously going to be more of a plus than allowing the status quo to continue. Joining me now is Alfonso Aguilar. He's the executive director of the Latino Partnership for Conservative Principles, and Francisco Hernandez is an immigration attorney. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. Mr. Aguilar, let me start with you, because it appears that we now have a bit of a clue into what the president will talk about today. He's going to argue that turning these 11 million illegal immigrants that are thought to already be here working in the United States will have a big boon economically for the country. In fact, he says it's to the tune of $66 billion. What do you make of his argument?
Well, look, he may have a point in that argument, but the reality is that, this speech is just the beginning of his presidential campaign effort towards Latinos. He hasn't done anything to advance a serious discussion on immigration. He had promised Latinos that he would deal with immigration the first year of his administration, and he didn't do it. And now, at the 11th hour, he's going to tour the country talking about immigration. He's talking to everyone except the people he should be talking to, and that's Speaker Boehner and the minority leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, and also Harry Reid. We don't know what his plan is. And frankly, again, if you want to do something, you have to go to Congress like George Bush did in '07 and make your case and try to get the votes.
But Mr. Aguilar, I just want to interrupt you for a second, because I'm confused by your argument. If you're saying, okay, it will bring in $66 billion, then why fight against it if it's good for the economy?
No, I'm not fighting against it. I think we should. I think the majority of Americans, including the majority of Republicans, want Congress to work on immigration. My point is, and I think this is the story, is that this president is going to use immigration politically. This is not about immigration policy. This is about going after the Latino vote. He knows that Latinos are very upset with him because he didn't meet his promise to them, and he's making all sorts of arguments, but he's not going to Congress, to the Republican leadership, to find consensus and do something on immigration.
Mr. Hernandez, your response to that?
Well, God bless Mr. Aguilar. I happen to agree with him 100%. The question here is, where is Arizona? Where is all the folks that wanted the federal government to act, and that was why they passed laws like the one in Arizona? I mean, where are we? We're supposed to, now we're going to fault him for taking leadership or not taking leadership. Look, we've got to start the dialogue. Everybody on both sides agrees that something needs to be done, but nobody's willing to put their neck out. We're assuming that he wants citizenship, but we know that's not going to happen. And clearly, yours and my Social Security retirement benefits depend on these 11 million people who would start contributing.
But do they? I mean, let me just challenge you on that, Mr. Hernandez, because basically the CBO has said that they take issue with Mr. Obama's $66 billion figure, because they say that it appears to be an overreach since the 2007 report from them, the CBO, estimated that 50 to 75% of the illegals here already pay federal, state, and local taxes. So where will this $66 billion additional money be coming from?
But not Social Security, and you got to remember, a lot of these folks work on a cash market basis where the employers are in fact taking advantage of the situation and not paying in the taxes. So there's a huge number that's not being accounted for, nor is it being taxed. Yours and my Social Security benefits, again, depend on it. So guys, we can bring them out of the shadows and have an orderly life. We don't have to have citizenship. All really they want is an ability to work here legally, and then we'll know who they are.
And you can see there the president walking down the stairs of Air Force One there. He's just arrived. Mr. Aguilar, if you're both agreeing, it seems as though the only thing that you just don't like how the president is going about it, but it sounds like you're saying something must be done with these 11 million folks who are already here, and in fact, it would economically be good for the country.
Well, I think the majority of Republicans are willing to do something constructive. I don't agree with the way he's going about it. I think he's just not doing anything. This is all for show. These are all theatrics to say that he is starting a dialogue. How are you starting a dialogue if you're not willing to sit down with Speaker Boehner, with Mitch McConnell, and have a conversation? You know, George Bush in 2007.
I'll tell you what.
Go ahead, Mr. Hernandez. Respond to that.
Well, I'll tell you what, because talking to them got the DREAM Act killed, and we've got kids who were brought here through no fault of their own, who failed strictly because of politics.
The DREAM
so when
Act,
the sitting down with the other side doesn't work, you've got to take it to the people, and that's what elections are all about. That's why we have an election every 4 years.
Yes, Mr. Aguilar.
Those are Democratic talking points. The DREAM Act was a political ploy. You've had Republicans co-sponsor DREAM Act bills in the past. The fact of the matter is they pushed the DREAM Act during a lame duck session, and they didn't allow Republicans to offer amendments. So there wasn't a serious conversation about the DREAM Act. We need real leadership, and we're not having real leadership on immigration.
All right, we shall see what the president says today. Alfonso Aguilar, Francisco Hernandez, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have new developments in 3 minutes on the story that we broke here yesterday, how the federal government is quietly paying out millions of dollars in settlements for children injured by childhood vaccinations. In 3 minutes, we'll show you why these families have gone public and what it means for parents.
The day that she had her shot, the doctor's remark to me was, my goodness, she is so bright. She's tracking well. She was 9 weeks old.